This is Kim Hammer with your devotion taken from the book of Ruth, chapter 4. The last time we were together, we found that Naomi had gone down, or Ruth had gone down, to where Boaz was threshing the wheat on the floor, and it was night, and he had laid down to rest, and she went down, and she did not lay in bed with him. Instead, what she did was she laid at the feet of Boaz, and that was a symbolic gesture saying that if you'll ask me to marry you, I will. And so he woke up in the middle of the night startled, and he cried out, and he said, Who are you? And she said, It is your servant Ruth. And he said, cover my feet, but also cover yourself. And as a result of it, that was a acceptance, if you would please, of a marriage proposal. Now the next day, we find that Boaz couldn't get up soon enough and get to the city soon enough because he wanted to redeem Ruth, which was the custom, because it was presumed that he was the next closest of kin that could be the kinsman redeemer. In reality, when you get to chapter 4 and verse 1, you find out that there's actually one above him. And so he sits at the city gate, and whenever that kinsman redeemer who had a little higher rank than he did came along, we find that Boaz approaches him and he said, Look, Naomi down here has some land that belonged to her, and she wants to sell it. And you're the next in line, you're the kinsman redeemer. Well, the guy was all about it, and so he said, Sure, I'll buy that land. Well, after Boaz, who was a very smooth operator, after he had told him about that opportunity, he told him the rest of the story. And he said, Oh, by the way, you have to take with the land Naomi and also Ruth. You're going to get the land and you're going to get the ladies. And at that, the guy balked. And he said, Well, that will disrupt my family plan. What he was saying was he had a wife at home, and he wasn't going to go home with two additional women and explain to his wife why it was he bought a piece of land, and these two women came with him. And so as a result, he yielded to Boaz, who bought the land. Now, the custom of the day was that whenever a transaction took place, because they had the city elders all gathered around the gate, this was all taking place at the gate to the city. The custom of the land was that the one individual would take off the sandal and would give it to the other one as the official act of transaction of their business. And so he took off his sandal and he gave it to Boaz, and the deal was finalized. And then Boaz turned to all the men of the city and said, Do you agree with what's been done? And they say yes. Now, as the story goes on, he goes home to his wife, and the Bible tells us, and as he's walking away, the men of the city are saying, May you be blessed, and may she conceive, much like it was with Leah. And so they are giving him blessing that he would go forth and that he would have a family that would be a blessing to him. As the case would be, they're married, and we find that Ruth conceives and she gives birth to a son, not just any son, but this son would turn out to be the grandfather to King David, the David who wrote the Psalms, the David who was a man after God's own heart. I'll just give you this as a devotional thought. From where the book of Ruth started out to where it ended, nobody could have thought that it would turn out as well as it did. But all through the line, the main message is that God had a kinsman redeemer that was prepared to do what needed to be done in order to save the ones that needed to be saved. God is our kinsman redeemer. Jesus Christ is the one who has come to save us. And if we will trust him, no matter how things may turn out in life, no matter how difficult it may become, if we will just put our trust, our faith, and our hope in Jesus Christ, our kinsman redeemer, then we know that all things will work out. In fact, we'll be even greater blessed.